Once you hear these, you'll start recognizing patterns most men ignore until it's too late. A red flag isn't about perfection, it's about patterns. Everyone slips. Repeated behavior is the real signal. Here are 10 hidden red flags you should never ignore in a woman, especially if you're thinking long-term. 1. She never takes responsibility. Every problem in her life has a villain, and it's never her. Her ex was toxic, her friends betrayed her family doesn't understand her. And eventually, you become the problem too. Psychologically, this is a lack of accountability, and it's one of the most dangerous traits in long-term relationships. A woman who can't admit fault, can't grow, can't repair conflict, and can't build trust. Instead of solving problems, she rewrites the story so she's always the victim. Most men ignore this red flag because early on, it feels like empathy. You listen, you support, you defend her. But over time, that support turns into emotional responsibility. You start carrying blame that was never yours. And here's the warning: if she never owns her mistakes, she will eventually make you responsible for them. 2. She tests your boundaries instead of respecting them. It starts small, disguised as jokes, playful pressure, or "come on, don't be like that." She pushes you to do things you already said you're not comfortable with. She guilt trips you when you say no. She treats your boundaries like obstacles instead of limits. Psychologically, this isn't curiosity or closeness, it's boundary probing. She's checking how much resistance you have, how easily you bend, and whether your no actually means no. Most men dismiss this because they don't want to seem rigid or insecure. They tell themselves they're being understanding, flexible, easygoing, but flexibility without boundaries turns into self-erasure. A woman who doesn't respect your limits early will expand the pressure later, emotionally, financially, and psychologically. Healthy people don't need to push boundaries to feel safe. They feel secure because they respect them. If your boundaries only matter when they're convenient for her, you're not in a relationship. You're in a slow negotiation where you're always the one giving ground. 3. Her words and actions don't match. She knows exactly what to say. She promises clarity, effort, loyalty, change. But her behavior tells a different story. She says she cares, but disappears when it matters. She says she's serious, but her actions stay casual. She says she'll change, but nothing actually changes. Psychologically, this is incongruence, and the human brain is wired to trust behavior over language. When words and actions don't align, it creates confusion, self-doubt, and emotional instability in the person on the receiving end. Most men ignore this red flag because they fall in love with potential. They listen to promises instead of patterns. They assume time will fix what consistency should have proven. But the thing is, someone who keeps you hooked on words while denying you actions is training you to accept uncertainty. And when actions don't match words, believe the actions. 4. She thrives on attention from multiple people. This isn't about being social or friendly. It's about needing validation and needing it constantly. She always has people in her orbit. Exes who just check in, guys who are only friends, we strangers whose attention she never shuts down. Psychologically, this points to external validation dependency. Her sense of worth comes from being desired, admired, and chosen over and over again. And when validation becomes a need, boundaries become negotiable. Most men excuse this because they don't want to seem controlling or insecure. They tell themselves confidence means tolerating anything. But confidence doesn't mean accepting behavior that quietly undermines commitment. If she needs constant attention from others, commitment will always feel optional to her. A woman who's ready for something serious doesn't keep backup audiences. She doesn't need multiple mirrors to feel whole. 5. She avoids honest conversations. Anytime things get real, She disappears, emotionally or literally. She shuts down when you bring up concerns. She deflects with jokes when the conversation gets uncomfortable, or she turns serious talks into arguments, so the issue never actually gets addressed. Psychologically, this is emotional avoidance. It's the inability, or unwillingness, to sit with discomfort long enough to resolve conflict. And without honest conversations, problems don't get solved, they get buried. Most men tolerate this because they don't want to ruin the vibe. They tell themselves peace is better than tension. But silence isn't peace, it's just postponed conflict. If she can't handle uncomfortable conversations, she can't handle a healthy relationship. Emotional maturity isn't shown when things are easy. It shows up when the conversation is uncomfortable and she stays anyway. 6. She uses emotions to control outcomes. You raise a valid concern and suddenly she's crying. You point out something she did wrong and now she's angry. Every time she's confronted, the situation flips. Psychologically, this is emotional manipulation, not emotional expression. The emotion isn't the problem, the timing and function of it is. It's being used to shut down discussion, shift blame, or force you into backing off. Most men excuse this because they don't want to feel like the bad guy. They end up apologizing just to restore peace, even when they did nothing wrong. Over time, this trains you to suppress your needs to avoid emotional fallout. You must understand that when emotions are used as weapons, honesty becomes impossible. Real vulnerability invites understanding. Manipulation demands surrender. If every difficult conversation ends with you feeling guilty for speaking up, that's not love, that's control. 7. She has no clear values or direction. Ask her what she believes in, what she's building toward, what kind of life she actually wants. And there's nothing solid, no clear principles, no long-term vision, no standards she lives by, yet she expects stability, structure, and certainty from you. Psychologically, this signals internal instability. When someone doesn't know who they are or what they stand for, their decisions become reactive. Moods lead, impulses decide, and the relationship becomes the place where that confusion plays out. Most men ignore this because ambition in women isn't talked about the same way. They tell themselves love will give her direction. But love doesn't replace values. It only amplifies what's already there. Take note that directionless people don't create peace. They create chaos. If she has no compass of her own, you'll be expected to become it. And that burden eventually turns into resentment. 8. She disrespects your time. She's always late. Plans change at the last minute. You're expected to adjust again and again without question. At first, it seems minor. Life happens, things come up, but when it becomes a pattern, it stops being coincidence and starts being communication. Psychologically, time is a proxy for value. People protect what they respect and casually waste what they don't. Most men tolerate this because they don't want to appear rigid or demanding. They tell themselves patience is strength. But patience without standards turns into self-neglect. You must know that someone who doesn't respect your time won't respect your energy, your effort, or your future. And the longer you excuse it, the more normal it becomes. 9. She discourages your growth, not directly, subtly. She mocks your ambitions as unrealistic. She minimizes your goals as not that serious. She gets uncomfortable or distant when you start improving. Psychologically, this comes from insecurity and fear of change. Growth threatens the balance she's comfortable with. As you evolve, she risks losing control, relevance, or leverage, and instead of rising with you, she tries to pull you back down. Most men ignore this because the resistance is quiet. It comes disguised as concern, jokes, or being realistic. But pay attention to how she reacts when you level up. The wrong partner will tolerate your struggle but resent your progress. The right woman doesn't fear your growth. She fuels it. She doesn't ask you to shrink so the relationship can survive. These red flags are the most dangerous because they are the ones most men excuse because everything else feels good. But attraction fades, excuses expire, and patterns always reveal themselves, eventually. If you're dating seriously, don't just ask how she makes you feel. Ask who you're becoming around her, because the wrong woman won't just break your heart. She'll slowly disconnect you from the man you're meant to be. If you learned something from this video, share it and consider subscribing to the channel because I share videos on how to improve yourself and relationships with other people. I'll see you in my next post.